Hello, you lovely, lovely people. Welcome back to this Wednesday evening outside of the house with the flying ants. There's always something. If it's not the video, if it's not the cockerels, if it's not the pigs, it's the flying ants that get you. Today's topic is about people coming here for marriage, to marry beautiful Filipina, or maybe not so beautiful of a Filipina, depends what your taste is, and then ending up with nothing. I know it happens. I know fine well it happens. And it's easy to be caught in that trap. Or that, it's not a trap, it's a moment, isn't it? It's a moment of feeling infallible. Because you've been talking for a long time, on the internet perhaps, and you telling your friends in the country where you're leaving to come here that you're meeting and you're going to marry a Filipina. And no doubt, because it happened to me, not that I was coming here to marry a Filipina, but I was coming to the Philippines to see a Filipina. But I'd seen her before, and it wasn't just a case of talking online and coming to the Philippines and trying to make a go of it. No, it wasn't like that. I met her before. But for these people, these poor people, I think, who get drawn in, sucked in, if you like, to leaving their home country, which is not an easy thing, people. Filipinos, got nothing to lose, have they? They've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I don't mean in the financial aspect. I mean, they already live here. They've got their family and friends and their life is here. Their job, if they're working, and everything. So they are not giving up anything. Us, on the other hand, as foreigners coming from a faraway place, we're giving up everything. And to actually come for that marriage, and you realise further down the line that this is not right. It's not how I thought it was going to be. But it's too late, because you've given up everything in your home country, probably, and you've invested a lot here. And not only that, the worst thing is losing face, not here, but to your friends, your family, back home. And I'm saying that through experience. I'm saying that because when I left the UK, most of my friends said, "You sure, Stephen? You sure this is, the right thing to be doing?" And I said, "Well, look," I said, "I think so." And some of my friends called me stupid. They still do. But, for doing what I did. Now, when it went Pete Tong, the first time, I had the opportunity of going back home. Or the opportunity. It wasn't an opportunity, really. It was an option of going back home. Now, because of my self-respect, my pride, and I knew what was going to happen, if I went back home with my tail between my legs, my friend would have said, probably behind my back to other people, "Told you Steve will be back. I told you it was a bad idea what he was doing." And I wasn't going to have that. So when it went wrong for me, first time, I just simply packed my bags and I left. No argument. I was like a ninja in the night, because I didn't want a confrontation. Because I know what can happen. In a foreign country, confrontation with a Filipina could turn sour, could turn bad in your way, not in their way, in your way. So I was a ninja in the night. I did the thing by just leaving, because the arguments were getting, and she was very confrontational, very. When people say that Filipinas are submissive, maybe some are. My wife is actually. She's very shy and very timid. But the other one, no, she was the opposite. Very bad-tempered, very, and flip. She'd flip at anything. So rather than me causing a confrontation, I just left. Now, like I said, I had the opportunity. I keep saying opportunity. I had the option of going back to England. I thought, no, I'm not going to do that, because I'd been here before and I enjoyed the Philippines. So I wasn't here just for her. I was here because I loved, at that time, I don't think I loved the country, but I enjoyed being here. So I started again, and I went to live in a little studio apartment while I was getting myself together, deciding what to do, if I was going to stay in the Philippines, if I was going to go back to South Korea and do a bit of work there, or Japan, or if I was going to go back to England. But that England was the last part of my mind. Anyway, that's just me. So I can understand how many foreigners come here with the understanding of getting married and starting a life here, and it goes wrong. Uh, it's not a pleasant thing. It's not a pleasant place to be if that happens, especially if you don't know the country and you don't particularly like the country and you've given up everything just for that lady. I would never give anything up for a lady. Really, honestly, I wouldn't give up my life for a lady. And you might think that's selfish, but you've got to have self-preservation. Things go wrong. And ifs and buts, there's ifs and buts in every walk of life. That's the risk we take. But like I said, we give up everything. And it's a big step for us. Now, when you see many of these homeless foreigners here in the Philippines, you can bet your life that a high percentage of them are homeless because it's gone wrong with their partner. And they are stuck here. Maybe because ran out of money, haven't got funds, or they might have turned to drink. You just don't know, because people deal with things in different ways. I mean, turn to drink, I would never turn to drink, but that's just me. Some people do. Some people think that having a drink takes your troubles away. For me, it creates problems for me because I think more. And that's the last thing I want to do if I'm not in a very good state of mind, is think more. Alcohol doesn't make me forget. And if it does make people forget, your problems are there the next day. So when you see a lot of these homeless people, and there is a lot here, people, there really is, there is a lot of homeless foreigners in the Philippines. I don't know about like any other country, probably is, but I don't know, I haven't been there. And it's mainly because of what I've just spoke about. It's gone wrong, and maybe they haven't got family. Maybe they haven't got the option of going home because perhaps they've sold everything in their country. Perhaps they've even burnt bridges. And let's be honest, people, most of us foreigners who come over here, we are in our twilight years. There's a lot of foreigners here that's a lot older than me. I'm relatively young compared to a lot of foreigners that are here, because I haven't got a pension yet, see, so I'm not at pension age. But I sustain myself. And it's a shame, isn't it? Because, and I don't want to sound horrible about this, but many Filipinos will just move on to the next foreigner. Like my first partner I was with, she had me over a barrel in many ways. I was stupid, I was green, I did this, I bought a place. Stupid, I know what you're going to say, they're stupid. And I invested a lot of money into the house because she wanted a sari-sari, so we built a sari-sari, got fridges, blah blah blah, and it was quite a big sari-sari. It sold quite a lot of stuff, rice, and it wasn't just like a normal sari-sari where they just sell canton and milk. It sold a lot of things. But she just moved on to somebody else, which was good for me because I knew then she wasn't going to cause problems for me. But she moved on to another foreigner. Probably had that foreigner in tow, and I found out this was one of the reasons why I left as soon as I did, like a ninja in the night. Her husband was in on it, so she was married, which I knew she was married, but I was under the impression that they'd split up years ago, and she hadn't seen hide and hair of him for a long time. That's what I was under the impression of. But oh no, this husband of hers was in on it. He was in on the scam. So you've got to think of that as well. You've got to think of that. And also, I know this for a fact, because when I lived in the apartment I was talking about when I left her, there was some Filipinos there who were married, and they were still talking to foreigners, and the foreigners were sending them money, and the husband knew about it, but they didn't care because they were getting money from foreigners. So you've got to be careful with all this. I didn't know that until I was there. I mean, I didn't know that kind of stuff happened. Because you try not to think about that, don't you? You try and think, this one is for me, this one is for me, you know. And because you're in that bubble, you can't really see outside of it, so you can't see no harm. But your friends on the outside looking in, and other people think, fool, you idiot, you idiot. But that's what happens as well, is some Filipinos are actually with their husbands, and they still go on these dating sites, and you know, you're hooked in. You're hooked in because, let's face it, and I'm saying this, meaning this, us foreigners who come here, like we said, we're normally quite old, we couldn't get someone of the same quality, if you got a good one, back home. You know, you can't, because different cultural difference, they just different. They just different. So that's why a lot of us come here. Come on, let's put our cards on the table. That's why a lot of us come here. And we get hooked up, and we get drawn in. Now, I know quite a lot of foreigners here that have failed in their relationships, but many go home, and then they come back, and then they go home, they come back. That's fine, because they've still got things back in their home country that will sustain them back there. Like, they might have their property, they might have family back there, but a lot of people don't. And I think a lot of people who do come out here, pigs are starting because they've been fed, not my pigs. I stopped the video then and restarted because the pigs, you know, I'm used to the sound of the pigs squealing when they're getting fed, but it's not very pleasant for you people, so I stopped and started. So, you know, some of us have options to go back home, but a lot of us don't. And we come here, and that's what happens, you know, it goes Pete Tong, went on the street. And can you think of a worse thing than, apart from being in a Philippine prison, but begging in a foreign country where you are meant to be a foreigner, you are meant to be financially stable. And the thing with Filipinos is they are very generous people. So I've seen it in Lee Plaza, where I think I said before there was a foreigner there, and he looked homeless, but he wasn't. He was just a drunk, and he was still married here, and he used to beg, and the Filipinos would give him money. Can you think of anything worse than that? You know, your self-respect, your pride. I couldn't, and that's why I've always. Yeah, I mean, if things go wrong for me, I can always go here, I can go there. I've always got options. But, you know, I mean, hopefully, and I don't think it ever will come to that. I think I'm here till end of days. But you never know. When people are in their relationships, this is forever. Well, all well and good if it is, but a lot of them aren't. You just don't know. We don't know. So what I'm trying to get at people in this video is, if you are planning to do what we're talking about, not being homeless of course, but planning on coming and marrying, and think about it long and hard. You know, don't just jump straight into it, because there's a lot of pitfalls here. And you've got to realise as well, as horrible as it sounds, is that the law is not made for us. It's made for the citizens of the Philippines, which is a good thing. It's what it should be like in my country, but unfortunately it's made for the illegals. It's not made for us. They get superiority over everything, healthcare, and that's another story. So here is made for the Filipinos, and we haven't really got that much rights here. So if you buy a house and it goes wrong, rather than try and fight it, you're better off trying to talk to your partner if she's going to sell it, or she's sorting it out amicably if you can. But don't jump in. Just don't jump in feet first. I did. So I'm speaking through experience. But I was quite lucky. I came through the other side of it. I'm still here. I'm living a happy life. I'm married. I've got a, you know the story. So I was quite lucky. But it could have easily gone the other way. And it could have easily gone the other way, as not just of the financial loss, but her husband could have caused big problems for me. Could have done. But I think because I left silently, I left without a fuss, and then she moved on to the next foreigner. With probably the the understanding that her husband knew about it as well. He's in on it. He was in on it. So don't think that everything is all rosy and things like that. People say red flags. Well, sometimes you don't see any red flags because you're in that bubble. I did. I saw the flags. I saw them, and that's why it didn't take me long to get out of it. But I'd already spent a lot of money. But so what? It happened. Spent a lot of money. Move on. My fault. Many people who are in a less position will take opportunities. You know, they are opportunists, and we are the victims sometimes. But also, sometimes the Filipinos are the victims as well of us, because I know some foreigners who come here and really take the piss out of their wives, girlfriends, in a way of, because they have the finances, they expect their Filipinos to do everything that they say, everything that they do, you know, and that's wrong. Just because we have the finances doesn't mean to say that, see, the moths are coming, the moths and the flying ants, doesn't mean to say that they should do everything that we want to do. You know, they've still got a mind, you know, they've still got opinions and they've still got feelings. I always ask my wife, do you want to do this, do you want to do that? And sometimes she'll say no, sometimes she'll say yes. And I listen to her side and I think, yeah, you're right. And I'm just looking for the bees, because the bees come night times as well, people. It's very strange. Never known it before. But I was told that the bees come night time because they are quite sick, apparently, and they don't want to go back to the hive and get eaten alive or die in the hive. So they come outside and they die. In the morning, sometimes, oh, that's a flying ant that bit me. Sometimes there are numerous dead bees here on the terrace, where they just here all night and then they just die. But that's it, people. You know, it's just a video of that. And I want to do a video about loneliness as well in the future, about being lonely in secret. And that happens as well with a lot of foreigners. You know, they come here and, you know, they end up lonely because they can't get on with the Filipinos and they don't really get on with the foreigners, and they just like a spare prick at a wedding, to be honest, basically. Anyway, I'm going to go, people, because I'm getting eaten alive. I really am. I've got this on. This is good, but it doesn't keep away the flying ants. I've been bitten now on the leg. I'm going to go. Thank you for dropping by, and thank you for putting up with me, and see you next time. Thank you very much. Over and out.